Let's have, pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody, for waiting. Ms. O'Connor, would you be secretary for us tonight, please? Thank you very much. Okay. Roll call?
Hightower.
Yep.
Jackson. Mason. Laura. O'Connell. Sosa. Chavez.
Here.
Okay, meeting started.
Any public participation written or oral? No business? And the new business?
In business, we have Jeremy Rolling and Ricardo Iguano. To present the construction project update and the change order review for the Gilbane part of the project. And we have Jesselyn Kelly with us that will, Jesselyn will present information on a change order for the AV project.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm gonna kick it off. We're gonna change it up a little bit this month. I'm gonna kick it off with Sunnyside MacArthur update and change orders. And then I'm gonna toss it over to Ricardo, who's gonna update you on the the Riley North Lake progress and change orders. All right. So Joe, I'm gonna start, I'll actually start with the drone video. Sunnyside. Keep it interesting. Yeah. Keep you on your toes.
And I'm sorry, Riley or?
Sunnyside, I guess. All right, so starting with the outside of the building there in the video, you can see this video was taken last Monday, the 22nd. So right here in this image on the south side, you can see some of the blue is starting to finally get covered up. And so we're putting metal panels on. We've actually finished the south side of area A, the south side of area E, which is what we're looking at here, as well as the mustache, which is in the outdoor learning commons. The metal panels are on that. So they've progressed now. They're working on the east side. You may have seen them as you drove in tonight. They're starting to come up from the south, working their way north. We'll continue to progress north. The blue in the left-hand corner there is where they're working currently, and they'll be going over to a little further to the right up to the music and band room later this week. So in this picture too, they were putting in the last section of curtain wall for the project, which was the main entrance. When you drove in tonight, you may have noticed some plastic, some board up in that. We had some dimensional changes there just due to field conditions. So we had to order or change the glass order for that section of curtain wall a little bit late. And so some of the pieces are about a week and a half out yet, but it is in, most of it has glass in it and the rest of it's covered up with plastic. So that was our last section of exterior framing for curtain wall and storefront sections. So that's a big accomplishment. We've continued detailing on the roof. As metal panels go up, there's additional metal coping or trim that goes over the roof edge and laps down onto the metal panels. So that's kind of progressing behind metal panels. You'll also see, you can see the line of orange snow fence. Obviously, school's back in session, as you guys very well know. But we were able to get the sidewalk and curb poured along the east side of the building. So we got the new sidewalk in as far as we could go and still maintain the parent drop off and pickup lines. So it's kind of a big accomplishment. Now we're preparing to start site work on the west side of the site right after Labor Day. So we'll start putting the roadway in, the new parking lot actually right out this window here on the north end of the building, and start progressing with that. Once we have all that in and usable, we'll go after the existing east parking lot later this fall and get that all redone with new curbs on the Wolf Road side and new asphalt. So that's all the plans for this fall yet. So let's see what else on the outside. I think that's pretty much it on the outside. Inside, pretty big progress on the inside as well. We've continued drywall. We are up finishing C1, which is the MacArthur west side, first floor. So that's the second to last section of drywall. We're finishing drywall in there right now. We're painting right out the windows here in D1. So painting and finishing is lagging about 2 sequences behind the actual hanging of the drywall, which is right on track. But we are painting there. Sunny side and the south end of the building is fully painted. All the classrooms, administration spaces is fully painted. Cabinets are in basically throughout Sunnyside as well. And they'll start coming in a week and a half for the MacArthur end of the building. So all cabinetry will be on site by the end of September. So we're progressing there. We've been working on the large cafeteria space. There's a lot of work to happen in the cafeteria. So the big 2-story space, if you guys remember from your tour, we're drywalling ceilings and they're roughing in the last of the electrical for those high ceilings. And then we'll start painting in there probably next week and really going after that space, which there's a lot of work to be done with the decorative cloud ceilings and access that space has. We've continued to put ceramic and porcelain tile in bathrooms. So we're all the way up through the kitchen and all the way almost up to the MacArthur end of the building, finishing bathrooms out. We actually started today installing fixtures, so toilets, sinks, whatnot throughout the Sunnyside end of the building. Ceilings continue following painting, so we'll be moving into D1 next. Sunnyside end of the building pretty much has all the ceiling grid in. We dropped ceiling tile in the first area, which is A1. And that process just keeps continuing one sequence after the next. Let's see, what else do we have going on? We're preparing to start the wood floor in the big gym, the MacArthur gym. So that'll be starting up right after Labor Day as well. And just trying to get as much material in as we can and install, progressing along. So the monthly question of any material issues. So we have one thing that came up. We have a delay on our elevator fabrication. That's currently slated to be done October 1st. So it's a little later than we'd like it, but we think we can make it work. It's about a 2-week install once it's here. So we're still tracking right at about the 1st of November for substantial completion. So we're pretty much, we're behind what we originally anticipated, but this is where we've been for several months now. Is at the November 1st date, which still gets you guys in time and able to use the school come January 4th, first day of school for second semester.
So when are we pouring the asphalt, you said? Fall?
It'll be probably towards the end of September. So, yeah. like to have it done by November 1st. Yeah. So,
There'll be bike racks or
there are bike racks. I don't remember. I believe there are.
I'd have to take a look. I can't remember if they're out by the fields more or like towards the fields or not.
Yeah.
But that is something we can look at.
I think they're down by the athletic fields in the second phase, once the old school's done. Yeah, so that's the one material issue that we have. A couple other small things that we're working through, but nothing major at this time. So no showstoppers, really. So moving right along. Still moving, pushing. We have 8 weeks till substantial completion. So. Any questions on progress?
I would like to say, job well done, even though it's not completed. We like the progress, so let's keep it on point.
Sure.
And we're excited to October get here, so we'll open it up.
Right.
November, right?
November.
Show off to the public.
Yeah,
Right there.
absolutely.
Now it's showtime for Ricardo.
Yeah. Do you want me to go through my changes while I'm up here, or do you want to go through progress? You good?
Change it.
Okay. So Joe, I'll have you flip to this one, to the Word document, or is, I guess, the PDF. There you go. Thank you. So we have total between Ricardo and I, we have 6 changes. This is all this month, so it's going to feel like a breeze after last month. But the first 3 are related to Sunnyside and MacArthur, so 84 through 86 was the ones I'll cover. The first one, 84, is related to PR 42. We had to make some modifications in the D wing area. There are mechanical fire damper access doors that needed to have access to them. We had to make some revisions in the classroom. Basically what it boiled down to is we had to buy new fire rated access panels, which we already had the previous ones on site. So there's just a material change there. The leftover ones will be either turned over to the district or utilized somewhere throughout the project, either here or at Riley North Lake as the need arises. So we'll look for a use for those. And then along the balcony in the cafeteria, and this is the bigger portion of this change, along the balcony, it was, there wasn't a clear detail of what the top of that wall section looked like. There's some glass railing along there, if you remember from our walkthrough, or there will be glass railing. Then there's sections of framed wall. So currently we have just a drywall cap on the top of that wall, which is going to get beat up. It's going to get dirty. It's going to be hard to clean. So we took a second look at that, and we've determined that the best finish for that wall is a solid surface, like a Corian countertop material. Same thing that all the countertops are made out of in the building. And so we're proposing to add that to cap this wall. It's going to be a long, durable finish, something that's easy to clean. So the total added change order for PR 42 is $13,573. Change order 85 then is, this is a 2-part. So there's a portion of this that's hot that we needed to get in front of you guys for approval so that we could proceed with the work. And there's another portion that we as a team decided we needed to take a second look at. The cost was higher than we really wanted to spend for that work. And so we're looking for alternative options. So the portion of PR 44 that we're requesting approval on tonight is $5,938. There are some conditions throughout the building where the interior partitions, the walls come up to the exterior storefront or curtain wall. And with the mullion layout, there's a gap, right? So you can see through there, but not only can you see through there, sound can transfer through there. So it might be from one classroom to another classroom, might be from a common space to a classroom, might be from common space to common space. But we think for sound transfer, it's best to close those off. And so Jesslyn has developed a detail to close those off with some brake metal and some insulation. So that's a portion of this. And then at the canopy, the front entrance canopy that we were looking at a few minutes ago, the roof drain detail and the insulation details didn't work out how we had initially anticipated. So we're actually going to need to add a second roof drain so that we can ensure proper drainage off that canopy. So that's really the pressing part of this change order is we need to get that last little canopy roofed and add that drain in there. So some additional piping, a new drain, some labor to do that. So that is what PR 44, the first part is about. The piece that I mentioned, we're going to come back to. So you'll probably see that in September. And the alternative option is a small section of stair to get out onto one of the roofs where it's about a 24-inch step up out the door. And so with the price of metal right now and the price of metal grading, that cost just came in for the little stair section that it is almost $8,000. So we didn't feel comfortable presenting that. We feel like there's another option out there. We'll continue to dig on that. So you'll see that come back probably next month. And the last change order I have for Sunnyside MacArthur is change order 86. It's related to PR 45. There are 4 microwaves that are in the two teachers' lounges on the second floor that did not have dedicated electrical circuits for them. And so we needed to add dedicated electrical circuits. And a portion of this is a portion of the reason this one's higher than you may have expected is that the home runs going from that area back to the electrical panels, those conduits are at or near capacity. So we couldn't add the wire into that conduit. We had to add a new home run. So the cost here for adding those 4 dedicated circuits is $5,285. So about a couple hundred feet of conduit. So those are the 3 changes for Sunnyside MacArthur. I think on the overall, Joe, could you flip to the summary sheet? The first one, yep. And then just scroll to the second page, please. Or there you go, yep. So the total request here is $24,796. Or we'll talk about the revenue. So overall, you can see we're sitting very good for the point in the project we are. After having completed our first summer's worth of renovations, we're nearing the end here at Sunnyside MacArthur. I think 92% of contingency remaining is a really good spot to be.
Thank you for that. We always look at that page. Wow.
Yes,
Keep it that way.
we'll try.
I know you will.
So, all right. Any more questions for
Any
me?
questions from anyone from the board? Oh,
Question on the last one.
Yep.
First.
Okay.
Sales.
So Ricardo will probably talk about that a little bit. Go ahead, Sue.
As of right now, we finished our T3, that's the last phase that we provided. We've gone back to the, gave them what we saw. Provided the freestyle we saw that originally was supposed to be a 4-room, it's turned into a 3-man crew. We haven't completely finalized our T4 just yet, so we are still working with that. As of right now, we haven't begun the frame for that, so we anticipate that happening probably next week or so. So that's the process.
Is that in line with what they have reported us, or?
We saved, I think on the first one, we saved a little bit, not much. But it was very labor intensive. And we have pictures we can share with Dr. Stein, he can share with you what it entails to do these.
any other questions? So I guess you're cool. Ricardo, thank you for.
Of course, of course. Joe, can we go back to the monthly report, please? All right, so I want to start off with the elephant in the room here. Riley Northlake, you're back in school. So I want to give everybody in here a round of applause. I mean, this is no easy feat. This is 10 weeks of just strenuous construction. And You guys supported us through that. You guys put up with us. So again, thank you, everybody. All right, so starting off with the schools and then we'll go into the exterior. So over the last 4 weeks, we did a little bit of everything. We're finalizing up some demolition, just a couple of things that we need to dot our I's, cross our T's with. Finalized all the demolition. Within that, couple more. Yep, you can go ahead and go to, keep going. Next one. Actually, next one more. Right there. So, one more, I'm sorry, Jeff. So right here, you can basically see the work that we've done over the past month. Everything from finishes, we had flooring going in, we did all the bathrooms, we cleared the school. So what you see as the end product out there now, all the tile, the plumbing fixtures, the furniture, thank you, Justin and your team. That's all basically ready to go and it's currently being in use at the schools by teachers and students. Again, it was summer that's I've never done a school project before and it's very strenuous, it's very fast paced. I had a great team behind us with all of you and Jeremy and the rest of the team. So just something that great experience. And it's great. So again, I think for the interior of the schools, we did everything from flooring, the carpets, the controls, and starting up of the RTUs, getting those somewhat functional. Right now, we're still working out a few kinks, but it's a process, and we are currently working through that. All of the ceiling tile has been installed, fire alarm testing completed, all of the inspections to get everything operational has all been complete as well. So I think that's everything with the schools on the inside. For the outside, Joe, can you play the video?
Yeah.
So over the last month, as you can tell, the addition looks entirely different. All of the exterior masonry walls are basically complete. You start to see all of the structural steel that's going to be closing up the roof. And even now, this week, and this morning, past week, we're actually decking it as well. So you're not actually able to see into the inside of the majority of the building. So as you can see, everything is progressing quickly and effectively. We are currently over the next couple of weeks, we're going to continue with all of the structural steel installation. We are currently did just receive some notification that the steel that we were anticipating for the cafeteria has been delayed about a week or so. So we are looking at other options of continuing more underground work to be able to pour another section of our concrete slab. As of right now, we currently have a concrete slab for the B-side corridor and bathrooms. So that has all been installed there as well. So in the next couple of weeks, we will continue with all the structural steel, a little bit of masonry, and then from that point forward, hoping to start with all of the face brick and very soon roofing as well. So the next goal is completion of all the steel and getting this building watertight. In addition to that, now that we do have the deck installed and some of the structural steel overhead, we also have started with our mechanical overhead installation as well. So I think that's everything for the addition.
How far are we behind on this project? Still a month and a half, 2 months behind, correct? We still in ballpark or
Yeah, we're looking at the end of January.
anything?
Carlos, I just want to point out right in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there, the smaller rooftop unit, which looks tiny compared to the one. Yeah, that one. That is our T3 that we were talking about framing the curb for. So that curb is all built out of gold formula framing. It's not what you would traditionally picture as a rooftop unit curb, a prefabricated curb. All 6-inch heavy studs. And then our T4 sits kind of over towards the addition on the old next one would be framed.
Our T4 is what, double, close to 2 times and a half the size of the our T3. Yeah. Any other questions there?
Any questions from the board?
So one other challenge we have here at this site, this fall is you may remember, we have a large underground storm detention system that has to be put in there. It's a concrete detention system. And that is basically everything to the east of the building towards the Gilbane trailer there. It's basically all of that laid out space. We've got to get that installed this fall, and figuring out the timing on that is one of our big challenges right now as to when to put it in, because you're limited as to what you can drive and set on top of it. But we also have to get, as Ricardo mentioned, we have to get face brick done around the outside of that thing. So we're gonna have scaffolding going up, we're gonna have wall traffic going. So if we open up this giant hole in the ground, we cut ourselves off. But we're working through details on that. And along with that, once that detention system goes in, that existing asphalt playground area back behind Riley all gets redone, regraded. There's existing drainage issues that have been drainage issues for years, and that should all get worked out when that gets regraded. So that's all on our radar to get done this fall, sometime before late November. So.
That retention system.
Yeah.
What were the issues for him? Rain.
Yeah, there was a couple issues with it backing up there. We had car issue with tire limits, sort of.
Right.
And there was another one somewhere in the field. Back and forth to the city on part of that, but nothing was ever addressed.
Our issues were that we kept having problems, blockage, timing, never figured out. And so this is going to address.
Yeah, if you look at, even if you look at a Google image, Google Earth image of this site, there's always a puddle of water or two in that existing clay area or asphalt area. Those grates are all being replaced. We've got the new ones installed already. It's just that they're at the high points right now for the existing grates, so they're not really helping. But, and there's nowhere to go since the inspection is something coming up here in the next.
Any other questions? Good job.
Joe, can you go over to the change orders? So as Jerry mentioned, we only have 3 for Riley Northlake this month. Starting off with district change order 87. This one incorporates PR 11 issued by Wold. This is a credit. So what occurred with this PR is we were still looking at some potential BE opportunities over at Riley and Northlake. All the doors at that project originally had, there was a door frame and then there was a transom up above. Above that, there was actually a header made of CMU. What we discussed within the team was that rather than having a CMU header, there was a potential to save some money, switching that to a frame system. It would also make it a little bit easier to just have one trade partner go through, install the door frame, install the header up above it, and then come back out. And we're almost close to being done rather than involving a mason. So we sent out that PR. What we actually found was that the cost was not favorable. So we went ahead and we removed the transom, we removed the glass with it, and we kept the header up above as CMU just to keep costs where they were. With us removing the glass, we actually received a credit. So that's what we're seeing here. It's a credit of $2,530. So I think that's everything there. The next one, PR 13, or district change order 88, which incorporates PR 13. This is in regards to the Northlake basement, the art room casework that was down there. It was in rough condition. And then with the flood that we had down there, there was some damage to the casework. With that being the case, we actually put forth this PR to replace that casework. This would give the art room teacher basically a full wall in that basement that is basically going to be lined with cabinets. In addition, there is a room that is adjacent to the art room that is currently being used, or was currently being used by the art teacher as storage for her material. With this added casework, there is the possibility to basically take this art room storage and return it back to the school for any miscellaneous storage needs the school may need. We would basically take out a door frame, lock it up, that leads directly into the art room. That way the art teacher no longer has access to that room from inside her classroom and only leave the access into the corridor. So with that, I think that would be a very minimal cost to lock that door up, remove the frame. But for now, all we're looking at is the cost to add in the casework. We originally started this casework number off at $38,000. Thought that was too high. We actually went to another trade partner that we're currently working with here on Sunset MacArthur, and we managed to bring that number down to $29,208. So that was about $10,000 savings by switching vendors, by using all of our resources at hand here. So. And then finally, district change order 89. This incorporates PR 21 issued by Wold. There is a BAS workstation. That's the workstation that you're able to log into and monitor the RTUs that are currently running over that way. So originally we had that computer station to be provided by our mechanical contractor. What this PR did is it removed the furnishing from their scope. The school is now to be providing the workstation, the computer, and then it's to be installed by our mechanical contractor. And that results in a credit of $1,100. So I believe that's everything. Any questions here?
Any questions for anyone? We love savings.
Yeah, keep them going.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Chairman.
Anything else?
So then we have Jesselyn Kelly from Wold to review the AV project change order number 1.
Welcome.
Thanks. So in complement to all of the other construction projects happening, we do have your AV and your security projects happening at these 4 sites as well. So we're working in coordination with all the Gilbane efforts, and you've got a general contractor or a general technology contractor for those projects. So this is independent of the change orders that we're talking about with Jeremy and Ricardo, but directly reflected in some of the construction that's happening there. So this is just one change order with a couple different parts. We're showing basically an impact at each site. So there are a couple of items that once the contractor went to order, they placed the order and then were notified that something was discontinued. So there are 2 of these costs, 1.1 and 1.3, that show the cost difference in going to the available model. We did a lot of research to make sure that what you were getting still met the design intent. Oftentimes what was discontinued was kind of that mid-range model. So you are looking at a slight upgrade in some of those systems, but they will still work the way that it's intended and keep your systems functioning properly when you start up. So then the other 3 items are as a result of coordination items that were resolved in construction, but then they were done post bid of these technology items. So something that may have been a minor shift in construction had a little bit of an impact, a lot of it just in distances for cabling and lenses, for cabling for HDMI in each of the classrooms, and lenses for some long throw projectors. So the biggest costs you'll see here are the changes in HDMI length. So we went from a standard, I believe, standard 25-foot length to an over 50-foot length. And it's a little bit more specialty. You're just looking at a longer length of cable, but it will still allow your classrooms to function the way they were originally designed. So those are the only changes we have for this right now. As far as progress goes, we have speakers installed in the classrooms at Riley and Northlake to date. All the classrooms that were renovated as part of this summer construction have now had their speakers installed. We are tracking along with the other trades in the new building, kind of following along before they put in the new ceilings. We are putting in speakers. So work is progressing pretty quickly on these contracts as well, but happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
No questions? We have been doing a great job.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Justin.
What else, Ms. Hicks?
That is the end of the new business.
No questions from the board? Okay. Get a motion to adjourn. Ms. O'Connor, Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Once again, you guys are always welcome to stay. We're gonna go right into our regular board meeting. We're gonna vote in open session on the change orders, correct?
The change orders will be in open session.
But you know, like always, you're always welcome to stay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Call a regular board meeting in order, please. Roll call.
Hightower.
Here.
Jackson. Mason. Mora. O'Connell. Sosa. Chavez.
Here.
Meeting started.
Thank you. For participation.
We ask that the board accept the written correspondence as presented.
The motion. So comments. Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson. O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I do not see any public comments.
Okay, thank you, check, appreciate it. Do you have any audience? No, any audience? Okay. Okay, consideration of old business, so have minute.
So we asked to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of August 1st, 2022, and for the closed session of June 27th, 2022.
Get a motion? Mr. Jackson? Ms. O'Connor? Roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell. Motion carried.
Any reports, Mr. Chairman?
No old business.
Yes, no. Is there?
No business.
No business?
So, yes.
Okay.
That the Board of Education approve the accounts and claims payable authorization as presented. And there were no questions.
Yes, Ms. O'Connor, motion. A second? Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And the building rental report is included in your packet for review, and this is for informational purposes only.
Thank you. Mr. Travis?
No
Old business? Any other old business? All right. I get a motion to go into closed session. Mr. Jackson, Ms. O'Connor. Roll call, please.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried into closed session.
Thank you. We'll do a long night tonight. Okay, Mr. Assuming it's not gonna be a long night, so just relax for a couple minutes.
Mr. White, could you ask Mr. Byrne to come in and take us offline, so we can go to closed
And
session?
then,
Maybe we need someone to take minutes.
Mr. O'Connor, be taking this. Thank you.
let me just turn this off.
Appreciate
so you
it.
can record it. Charged it.
Okay. New business, reports, board reports. Ms. O'Connor, please.
Okay, we had a case meeting on the 17th of August. It was a fairly short meeting. Our next case meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 21st at 6 o'clock. Okay.
6 o'clock. Right. Thank you. Anything else? That's it? Nothing else, Ms. O'Connor? You have anything else? Okay. Okay, Ms. Mason's not here. I don't think she had a meeting. Mr. Chavez, anything?
No.
No? We just had our facility meeting right before the board meeting, so all the minutes will be part of the board package, so. Okay. Mr. Jackson, you have anything? Okay. And Mrs. Sosa did not have, so I don't think there's any other meetings this month so far. Okay, let's go right to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. For licensed personnel resignations, suggested motion is that the board accept the resignation of the following personnel. Andrea Megan MacArthur, effective July 25th, 2022. Katie Swanson, music teacher, MacArthur, effective August 8th, 2022. And Maggie Lawson, ESL resource teacher, effective August 15th, 2022.
Is there a motion? Mr. Jackson, Mr. Chavez. Roll call, please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Licensed personnel leave of absences, please see the letter shown under correspondence for this meeting. The suggested motion is that the board approves the licensed leave of absence request as presented for Courtney LaShure.
The motion, Ms. O'Connell. Second. Mrs. Chavez. Roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Licensed personnel employments, the administration has interviewed the personnel shown below and is recommending employment. We ask that the board employ and approve the following personnel as presented. Jamie Mendiola, Renee Field, Mallory McDaniel, Hugo Santiago Vasquez, and the correction of steps and lanes for Anna Aviles, Aaron Palchow, Sarah Hilliard, Elizabeth Gardona, and Vesna Tanseva as presented.
Okay, good motion. Mr. Jackson? Mr. Chavez, roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Educational support staff resignations. We ask that the board accept the resignation of the following personnel. John Scanlon, Riley, effective June 28th, 2022. Fernando Flores Pineda, teacher assistant, Riley, effective August 19th, 2022. Veronica Sandoval, lunchroom monitor, Riley, effective September 2nd, 2022. Yvonne Saucedo, clerical aide, Riley, effective August 25th, 2022. Kendra Montez, teacher assistant, Riley, effective August 15th, 2022. Tamara Irwin, inclusion teacher aide, MacArthur, effective August 15th, 2022. And Michael Clare, teacher assistant, MacArthur, effective August 3rd, 2022.
The motion. Ms. O'Connell, Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Educational support staff, leave of absence. We ask that the Board of Education approve the educational support staff leave of absence requests as presented for Cynthia Lee, Musarat Khan, and Diana Lekas.
The motion. Ms. O'Connell, Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Educational support staff employments. The administration has interviewed the personnel shown below and is recommending employment. We ask that the board employ the following personnel. Rosa Castaneda Rosales, lunchroom monitor, effective August 29th, 2022. Anna Alonso, Northlake, effective the start of the 2022-2023 school year. Aisha Orlano, teacher aide, Riley, effective the start of the 2022-2023 school year. Jasmine Martinez, school nurse, Riley, effective August 29th, 2022. And a start date correction, Dominic Hernandez, PM custodian of MacArthur Middle School, effective July 27th, 2022.
Roll call. Motion, sorry. Ms. O'Connell, Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Mason. O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Fundraisers. Please see the attached material received regarding fundraisers. We ask that the board approve the following fundraisers as presented. District 87 Band, Java Joe's, Coffee, Tea, Smoothies. Riley PTO Spiritware fundraiser for Riley Store, McDonald's drive-through event, and Riley Walkathon.
Motion. Ms. O'Connell, Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And then I'd like to give some background. Last board meeting, the board asked for a organizational chart. So we've provided an organizational chart. This organizational chart has highlighted in yellow recommended new positions for the upcoming school year that would impact the Department of English Learning, the Nutritional Services Department, and our Custodial Facilities and Transportation Department. And then in your packet, you should have a recommended new positions packet, which would have estimated costs as well for these positions. So what I would like to do is kind of walk through where we are, what we are recommending as an administrative team, and have discussion, answer any questions. Mr. White is here from facilities to help us with that, our director of facilities. Ms. Valdez, our director of English learning, is here. And Mr. Marcus Shelton is here, our director of nutritional services is here to help all of us advocate and be clear of what the concerns are that we feel a position is needed. So with the package you have in front of you, you'll notice at the top, 2 of these positions had already been approved in May. And when we talked about this as a board, I mentioned I wasn't ready at that time to move forward. We were still looking at all the options and providing the backup that might be needed to go forward with recommendations. And so now we have that, and I want to make sure the board has a chance to discuss it and ask questions. So the first one, I'm not going to be asking for action on tonight. I wanted to mention it. It's a behavioral technician position. And this is a position that would be funded through a grant. And how this would work is, should we be able to get a proposal from one of the staffing agencies such as Maxim, then I would come forward with that. The grant would pay for it. It would only be for 1 year, and that would be a purchase service. And that is only allowed for 1 year with the grant. But right now we haven't found a organization that would help us with this position. What this position relates to is helping the newer kindergarten students who haven't been in school for the past couple of years become more ready for school. So that's the idea behind that position. Okay. So I'll come back to the board should we have a purchase service agreement for that, and then we would discuss it at that time. Then we have a district floater position, and the primary source of revenue for this position would be the National School Lunch Program. And the rationale behind this position is currently the director of food service, Mr. Shelton, and the assistant director of food service, the food service supervisor, Mrs. Kusiba, on a regular basis have been pulled to go to the buildings to be substitutes due to our absences. And it's happened at such a frequent rate that it's impacting their ability to manage the program at the district level. We have a lot of substitute positions, but we do not have one that is a floater that could be sent to either of the middle schools on a moment's notice. And so that is the rationale for this position. Mr. Shelton, did you want to say anything else about it?
Yeah, and really good job of summing it up. But all of last year, we spent a lot of time, especially in January, February, in the peak of COVID, starting up. Jackie and I spent a lot of time in schools, like serving students, which we love to do. But at the same time, we had a hard last year with being compliance, so we focused on 2 things, and they'll take us like being in the schools, took us out of being ready for our audit. I think it's just very important that we focus on keeping students fed, however, it'll help out tremendously. Alleviate those issues so that Chad and I have to be out there.
Well, and that's a great point, Mr. Shelton, because both Mr. Shelton and Mrs. Kusiba will still be available to help. It's just that they were the only option. There was no other person to do it. And we are offering more meals now than we've ever offered before. So there's a lot more monitoring of our food service program. So that is one position that I would like the board to consider tonight. Also, we are looking at making both the North Lake assistant cooks and the MacArthur assistant cooks have the same schedule. And I believe, Mr. Shelton, they used to be on a different schedule, but now the number of meals being served at MacArthur has increased exponentially. So you would like each of them at MacArthur to work 1 more hour, and that is your rationale for it.
Right. So last year, we served 3,000 more meals than they did prior to these. And work. So we announced to the more students are eating on the side of town. Before when I first started, we used to now it's this side of the district, so. Just a little, so. So awesome. Just trying to.
So, Mr. Sheldon, this floater, that will be a district floater, as you stated, right? This person just go out to the district to help, yes, navigate the meals being services that increase over 1,000 meals per day for the district. Is that correct?
No, not 1,000. It was 10,000 school year for the two hours. But for the actual floater position, that person is for absences. So when, like, for example, you guys mentioned Cynthia Lee, so she's gonna be gone for a period of time. That we just approved, because she had surgery. Now we have to find a person to go out there. We do have a sub there, but eventually somebody's gonna call off or somebody's gonna, and Kathy's gonna be there. After Kathy, it's me. So that person will just go to that school instead of they can call and find.
Yeah, so if it was 10,000 meals more for a year, figure out how many school days we have. And it came out to about 415 meals a day.
Extra.
Yeah, addition. So what was the driver of the increase on these meals?
I think the enrollment side of the district is from
It's the what, I'm sorry?
the enrollment.
Enrollment, I'm sorry. Enrollment of.
Because MacArthur's, even their one lunch period is 160 students, which is not as big as.
Well, and you've done a lot with your program to promote, look at the offerings you have now compared to what it was several years ago. You have, talk about some of the initiatives and innovative ideas you have.
So now we're back to the, so to speak, our garden bar is open. So we have like a institute salad bar at the schools. And primary schools do have this too. So all the schools have a huge salad bar with different fruits and vegetables that they've probably never seen before. So star fruit, kiwis, we have watermelon. We just try to do beets, we did beet salad. Participation as well. And not so much for seed, so these policies just helps out. We always push. Then when new schools come, pushing them further.
So it may not necessarily be so much driven by enrollment, but it's more children making the decision to eat lunch versus bringing their own lunch.
More and more kids enjoy the lunch.
Now, Mr. Shadows, if Mr. Shelton is very humble, but I can tell you from being here within the district, when I go throughout the schools, kids have never eaten lunch like they are now. Students choosing the school lunches. I mean, it's awesome. And I'm gonna be honest, I was looking at it like, man, I need to go and order just the variety, and they really enjoy it. But they have a lot of variety, a lot of choices. And so the students really enjoy it. And then also, I don't think he shared, but they also offer staff to purchase lunch too, salads and soups and wraps. And so that increases the work time of the cooks too, to prepare that so that they can get it out to the staff as well as the students. So they've done a phenomenal job over the years and the choices, and you really see students eating lunch here at school.
You mentioned audit. What was the driver? Federal,
State. We have every 5 years. So 5 years from now. Instead of just 5 year school district.
health department.
No, it's a compliance audit. All the entire nutrition calorie counts, how we train our staff, the hours of staff, meals,
Recipes.
recipes, things like that.
And that's part of the concern with Mr. Shelton continually subbing, that becomes more of a challenge. So those are many of the factors that went into our recommendation for some additional support for food service.
So the National School Lunch Program that allows for reimbursement. That counts, or how does that count?
By meal.
Okay.
So because we're community eligibility program, all the students qualify. And so it's by meal. The reimbursement is by meal. There's a small reimbursement from the state for milk. The primary reimbursement is from the National School Lunch Program.
So the
And
obviously,
then
if it's
breakfast.
volume of meals, the greater the reimbursement.
And Marcus mentioned the compliance audit every 5 years, but in between, there are other areas that they send information to make sure that you're in compliance on, if you have to do pricing, a la carte, are they priced correctly? You have to have a certain, yeah, they look at correctly. But you have to charge enough in order to cover your handling cost. So you have staff handling a la carte items, but they want you to make sure the markup is high enough to cover that so that the meal reimbursement isn't supplementing the cost of those a la carte items. So that could be in between that full compliance audit, or they might do a financial audit in addition to what our auditors review because of the volume that we have our reimbursements for the National School Lunch Program. That is typically part of our regular audit with Baker Tilly. But the state also has other financial questionnaires and things that they send out that Marcus and Kathy help to complete the information to respond to those.
Part of what's being built. Some extent. Is for efficiency on our meal support. How's that been factored into the question? Or part two? So when the new buildings we're supposed to have more efficient delivery. So how is that factored into the request?
Well, it's more the peak. So it's more there.
Understood, but I guess you're more efficient now. Your labor hours are starting to reduce.
Mr. Chavez, may I help with this question?
Sure.
So the delivery is not the food service staff. They
Okay.
previously would wrap and put things in the camera units that the facilities, the drivers transported to the other schools, including from MacArthur to Sunnyside, because there wasn't a direct hall without stairs. Now that they're side by side, they'll have it in warming ovens and they just fill the trays and things to serve from. But we won't have a driver transport from MacArthur to Sunnyside or from Riley to Northlake because it's all enclosed.
Okay,
You know,
so
that's
that
the-
part of the function of the activity
Correct.
still exists, it's just more the drive.
Right.
Resource. Okay,
So the driver will transport to Jefferson and to Whittier.
okay,
I think that was the question
Yes,
we're looking at,
that's,
right?
yes, that's what I
Okay.
was trying to understand.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was gonna be efficiency, and I thought there was gonna be
The
changes
efficiency,
related to that efficiency, so.
efficiency is Sunnyside serving line is right next to the kitchen. And
Down Hamlin Driver.
Yes.
Okay.
And Riley is down the hall. So they'll have cabinets that they can roll. There'll be a ramp, but they'll have cabinets that they can roll. They won't even have to go outside.
So the carts will still need to be loaded by those, but.
At Northlake, just to be able to get into Riley, since the serving lines are not physically next to each other, but they are down the hall.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
I
clarifying.
Thank you,
thought
Mrs.
that's
Vince.
where you're going with that.
Yeah, you understood. what-
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
I appreciate it.
And Mr. Shelton, thank you. And so just a few more. So then the administrative assistant for English learning, the background for that is last year, for example, here at Berkeley School District 87, we had 2,431 students enrolled in the district. Of that number last year, we had 865, or 36% of our students were considered English learners. And that number has gone up precipitously in the last several years. And one of the reasons, which is really a good reason for us as a district, is when we moved to grade level centers, the increase in children participating in English learning increased throughout the district. As those of you who've been around a little longer might remember, we used to just have our bilingual services full-time at Riley and Northlake. And what that caused families to do was to make a choice. If I lived, let's say, on this side of the district, the south side, and my child qualified for bilingual services, many families declined because they did not want their child to be transported to a school that was not their home school. You address that in a very effective way through grade level centers, because now our enrollment in English learning has gone up in all of our schools. So now what we're finding on top of that enrollment going up is the monitoring from our state assessments has increased as well. So we have a need to have a bilingual administrative assistant to assist Ms. Valdez, not only with program monitoring, but also with assessment monitoring. We also have a percentage of our kids, not only here, but are also at PACE. And I've been working very closely with Ms. Valdez the last few years, because if we have children that are enrolled at PACE, we are still responsible for their English learning. So Mrs. Valdez and I have worked with our IDEA grants to create a cohort for the last several years, not only for Berkeley staff, but also for PACE staff to attend, to get their ESL endorsement, to make sure that all the children receive their ESL services, even if they're not here. Well, Ms. Valdez's department is still responsible for the assessment of those children, not only at PACE, but at any other place they might be enrolled outside of the district. Additionally, we have children here in District 87 who are duly identified and attend our schools, meaning they're both special education and they're English learner. Plus, on top of that, every student who does exit our program through English proficiency on the access test has to be monitored for 2 additional years. So you take that number of 865 and you even add to that. It's closer to 1,000 kids that Ms. Valdez's department is monitoring every year, with multiple assessments in the year. And I got one last thing, Ms. Valdez, and I'll turn it over to you, okay? And that is Ms. Valdez's program generates funds. So the federal government gives us funds because the idea is to offset the cost that districts incur by educating a second language learner. But in order to qualify for those funds, we have to be very precise with how we indicate into our student information system where the students are receiving their programming and how and who is giving it to them. So that teacher has to be highly qualified. And it's an ongoing challenge because it's not the same in every building and it's not the same in every grade. A lot of our programming is really dependent on the number of children that are in that school and the need. So I'm going to stop talking, Ms. Valdez. Would you like to add anything?
Well, actually, I'd like to answer any questions that you may have. With the information that Dr. Sullivan has provided, and then just any questions that information has checked.
How many students are we serving from PACE?
How many
Students, so we, this is our program from PACE.
That are English learners?
Yes.
I had, as of last year, Ms. Valdez, 26
26.
students who were attending schools outside of the district. And 19 of those were also special education, so it would be pretty close to that number.
So 19 would be PACE. And then the 7 would go to schools such as Britain, or the state school that West 40 offers.
You mentioned the enrollment of that program that's gone up. So what would you say was the percentage versus pre-pandemic? I'm sorry, not pre, the
Grade level
Grade
seven.
grade level centers and post. Yeah, well, even this. season.
Let's take the pandemic out. I like what you're going with this with pre-pandemic. Grade level centers, that's the number you get. And if we got 26 in PACE, I'm pretty sure that number has increased a lot.
What I can do is I can provide you with the numbers for the last 5 years. Because what I did is I took, we have 2 reporting periods for this day, one in the fall and then one in the spring. So what I did just to make sure that the comparison was from the same time period, I took spring enrollment numbers because those were the numbers that Dr. Sullivan had provided with the most recent report. So when we take a look at students that, we're just looking at the students that whether they're physically here in the district or whether they are receiving services outside of the district, in 2022, the year that we just closed out, we were at 34%. The year prior to that, we were at 33%. In 2020, we were at 31%. In 2019, we were at 28%. And in 2018, we were at 25%. And so those are the, we are their serving district for all intended purposes. When I take a look at the same time frame, going back to 5 years, using the spring enrollment data, the percentages for those that we're physically serving here is pretty close in terms of like the percentage. And we're 2022, 34%, 34% are being serviced here.
Okay, you're referring to the south side of the district.
I'm referring to
Just
holistic.
overall. Okay,
Holistic.
so we have 3,000 students, we had an increase of 9% from 2018.
Yes, so when I take a look at, I also looked at the total enrollment of our district. So when I take a look at 2022, our total enrollment was 2420. In 2021, it was 2537. In 2020, it was 2661. In 2019, it was 2606. And in 2018, it was 2718. So we see, so what we're seeing is we're seeing the drop in the total enrollment, but we're seeing the increase within the EL population. And that's the shifts in demographics that are occurring within our district.
And the offering of services at all 6 of our schools, I think together.
So, 3,000 is high, so even if I took a 2,600 average, 9% or 10%, it's 260 more students.
And so the department has grown, and there's a need for a bilingual administrative assistant to support the program. And again, this generates funds, and this program or this position should primarily be funded through evidence-based funding.
So the need is now. So Ms. Travis, with the HARN situation we have on the ranks, what kind of disadvantages come place? That's what the funds, yes,
I don't think it'll be hard.
that's what we are.
And the reason being, I can share why I feel that way, is because we've like offered candidates positions for teacher assistant and different other bilingual positions. And they are looking for more hours and more, pay, something more consistent. And this position, would be a year round. And so some of them have said, please keep me in mind, or keep my name and number. If you have a position that becomes available, inform me, so that if I'm interested, I can apply. So I always tell people, make sure you just check our website on a, consistent basis. So that's why I think it will work, because we've been turned down for some of the other positions, and they're looking for, some of them will say any clerical or, administrative assistant position, so.
Well, from the board's point of view, we always looking at for opportunities to improve education of our children. And we know that's a big need. I'll reach out from the board's perspective, make sure we get this enough information early so we can react to it. Because if the need is now, guess what? We're not gonna be in place for next school year, for this school year coming up. We start schools now, right? So on this, so, any other questions? Any other ones, so the expectation you directors come out and sell what you're looking for. And we're here to listen and try to get you the resources you need to fulfill that need. Okay, but you got to sell it. Okay. All right. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Sell
Feltes.
it.
Very much. Yeah, she and I have been talking for a while, and I was working on my end to do my due diligence, because we are also always looking for, are there any redundancies within our own staff that we already have that can help meet some of these needs? And Ms. Valdez was very helpful in educating me on how this population not only have the needs increased, but the urgency has increased. Because as she pointed out very well, our enrollment has gone down a little bit overall, but the enrollment in the program has gone up. And that's not only a demographic change, but it's also, Mrs. Valdez has done a nice job of creating enough trust in the program that parents willingly have their children participate in the program. Because we used to have what we call declinations, I think was the term, right, Ms. Valdez? Kids were eligible, but they did not participate in the program. And we still have to assess them, even if they're not receiving services. And Ms. Valdez has done a wonderful job of almost eliminating that. So thank you, Ms. Valdez.
Thank you.
But any delay of getting this here would have been for me, making sure that we had a need for this and we couldn't meet it any other way. And that's how we've come to this point today. So, but I'll keep being mindful of that.
Mr. Spencer, you calculating all this in the upcoming budget? That's supposed to cost?
We'll add those if the board approves.
We
the
haven't approved
position.
anything yet.
If
On
the
the
board
record, we haven't
approves
approved
that.
anything. Okay, looking at dollars, data is, Mr. Vincent, so we want to have a super district. We open these schools up in the next 6 months to a year. What do we say? Hit the ground running,
Yes, sir.
okay? We want to hit the ground running because this is going to be a good selling point. With students in the classroom, we want to teach in the classroom. We want an expert. We want to be able to say, okay, this is what District 87 have to offer. Okay? And we'll work with you. We're going to challenge you. Bring the data. Right, Mr. Stevens?
I'm very
Okay.
dead.
Miss Vince going to
I'm
watch
sure
the
you
dollars.
all
Okay.
have noticed.
All right.
Look at that,
All right.
And thank you. And
I'll dig into it.
what Mr. Shelton shared literally impacts student learning, because food service impacts student readiness to learn. And Mrs. Valdez's program directly impacts student learning.
That's two takeaways. According to Mr. Stevens, he's a numbers guy. 450 extra meals, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, just a very quick
That's a
math,
positive.
math.
That's good. Our demographics are changing. That's good. So let's get on this.
So then lastly, is these positions now are custodial. So I'm just going to give a brief overview, and then Mr. White is available for questions. So one of the positions recommended for the custodial team is on the back of the second page of what we have. And the first has to do with an additional position for the new Sunnyside. And that is in part due to the larger building. Also, one additional position for MacArthur, again, due to the larger building and additional work that custodians need to do. So for example, there's more glass in the buildings, there's more carpet in the buildings. So that takes more time to vacuum and clean. And Mr. White will speak more about that. Also at Riley North Lake, it would be one position to cover both schools because there's additional space there as well in those two schools. Then additionally, Mr. White is recommending a facility supervisor. The majority of our custodial staff works in the evening, but we do not currently have a direct supervisor for them. And Mr. White and I think that there is a need to have direct on-site in-person supervision of our staff who are working in the evening. And also there is a need for a maintenance person. And Mr. White has discussed this in the narrative that he has provided. But what we're finding is we currently have two maintenance people. One works during the day. That person is pretty much working on important, urgent things that happen during the day. So they're very seldom able to work forward and work ahead on the work orders because they're dealing with real-time events such as this door won't close, this bathroom, the plumbing isn't working, the air conditioning is out in this building. So that's an example of what's happened. We have a PM maintenance person who is able to work on maintenance pretty regularly. The challenge we have though is in the evening, many of the places that we have to get parts are closed. So that can become a challenge for the maintenance team. But there is a need to have this additional maintenance person to not only kind of catch up with where we are with our work orders, but also there's a lot of preventative maintenance that needs to be done, not only with what we currently have. Our new buildings are 20 years old, and some of those facilities are nearing end of life. So we need to do what we can to prolong them. Like you saw a few months ago, we voted for the new sump pumps that had been there since 1970. So we are doing what we can to maximize our efficiencies, but we do feel we need more assistance to help us with that. Mr. White?
Yes, that was my position, right? So I truly believe we are adequately understaffed in the maintenance department. It's a continual balancing act on responding to emergencies, work order completion, student comfort, teachers' concerns, and finishing work orders, because every building thinks there is a priority, right? So I have to struggle with prioritizing what is most important. And the influx of work orders you get sometimes, it's hard for them to catch up on. If we catch up and focus on work orders, then we're neglecting the preventive maintenance items. So it's a balance, and we've balanced it for a long time. But that's not the correct way to do it, right? You want to do the maintenance that's required. You want to be able to react appropriately in adequate time to your work orders. You want to have people react to emergencies. So we're balancing, and we've been balancing for a long time, and we can continue to balance, but that's not the proper way to do it. The proper way is to make sure that our mechanical equipment is being treated like it should, that we're reacting to work orders in an appropriate amount of time. And that's my feelings towards the maintenance issue. Supervisors, I think it would be.
Okay. So a few questions. I'm assuming we document the work that is being performed. So if it's an emergency, whatever the case is, we're documenting that.
Try. Okay. So this is where the problem is too. Maintenance will go around, someone will come up to them, hey, can you take care of it? And they'll try to be compliant. So we kind of have like a 15-minute rule. Like if you can fix it quickly, it's only going to take 15 minutes, go ahead and do it, right? Exactly. Or if someone will fix something, don't forget to put it in the work order. Or you tell, I always try to tell the people who call me and say, this is broke, did you put in the work order? Because we have to get in the system. So even that is like a continual struggle. Put it in the work order. Put it in the work order.
I will say that as supervisor.
Right, it is, and that's why I tell them every time, put it in the work order. And then every month I'll pull up a report for the maintenance staff. Okay. Which one work orders this month? Well, I know that wasn't accurate. Well, no, we did this, this. So even that is another supervisory issue, which leads to the next supervisory position for health. It's an ongoing struggle.
So what would you say average work order per maintenance person?
Maybe during the daytime, it's less to, they handle the more emergencies, right? So they might be 2 or 3. Because they're responding to those calls. Night person, could probably knock out 8, 7, depending on what it is. Then the more serious things like phone leaks and that kind of stuff, well, that might talk after the day. You know, you go into the story about whatever. 3 or 4. So that's the problem. If it's just like doing balance or hanging something on the wall, or they can knock out a lot.
You definitely need people that. That's correct. In regards to this position that you're wanting to add, what are the hours?
Maintenance. I was thinking mid-shift for maintenance. Reason being, because it's kind of both. So if there's a particularly difficult project, the day member has assistance. Same thing at night, it would be assistance, something happening. Kind of
What's the night shift decision? And what would be this solution?
I just think until the 8 or 9, which is still needs to be.
Okay. For that decision.
Night supervisor, again, most of my custodial staff works in the evenings. There's a lot of things that I try to squeeze in assistance with. But we have finance issues, we got some building maintenance issues, we got custodial issues, the personnel issues, we have inspection issues, all of that they can help with. And also, it's like we have some information for contacts. Some gets to know those problems. All those little things, you know, that happen in the building. Right.
This supervisory position, what will be hours?
That would be a 3 to 11, so they would match our evening custodians, so there would always be someone there.
How many people do we have in the second?
About 14 right now, yes, this job.
What do you project into your report for this?
I think the whole story was there. Oh, you know, 20-something. I don't know if it's not like they report to you kind of thing, like, I mean, he would be in the supervisory role, not even if not.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm concerned that you're going to have 22 people plus reporting to one person. How do you effectively supervise people? This is not necessary, you're right. You'll work on it. That's how I'm looking.
Right, well, my plan is, you know, he's gonna handle the majority of the stuff. I will be addressing all the things that would be there today. So it's that kind of thing, but it doesn't mean like.
No, I understand, but you know, who is a department? How many people are in the
It would be staff.
You understand? Okay, I'm good for supervisor.
And of course, custodians, if you move on to the custodian staff, the basic numbers that I come up with is based on square footages. Now, we're doing we're trying to address this issue multiple ways. Now, the square footage is just based on square footages, but we do have an increase in glass, we do have an increase in carbon, and all that, there's a part of that. But we're also making other changes. We are updating to more efficient equipment, so we're switching from regular vacuums to backpack. Focusing more and more behind scrubbers for time efficiency things. We've talked about maybe starting them a little bit later. Coming to 3 years, some schools are still in session. They're trying to get clean. We talked about switching the half driver at Sunnyside, it's half driver, half custodian to full time at Sunnyside. So all those things, and that's where the efficiency comes in for the food service part, not transporting them. Where one driver can transport that food, now instead of having 2 drivers transport the food. I can take that half the custodian, stick them full time in that building, and I get that additional time. So it's a multi-pronged approach to that. This is just what we're starting with. We'll talk about how we clean, how we change different areas more food clean type of things. There's several different things attached to this to be more.
So, question related to the additional custodial staff. How many square feet do we have to take between the Sunnyside and the park?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that in your
Are you
package?
talking, yeah, it's in the paperwork. Are you talking the old one compared to the new one?
Yes.
I'm asking for the new. The old between the two and the new.
The old is 115,441 square feet. The new is 167,000 square feet,
So we're adding
almost 52,000.
52,000 square feet. And for those 52,000 square feet, it's 2 additional feet.
Average square footage per custodian worked out to something like 18,000 square feet per custodian.
One of the requests I had was, have we done a tank study?
We did.
I didn't see that, but I see that tank study, and to see dates of 2019.
Right. It was for the.
So my concern is the new building has not been, tank study for the new building has not been done. It's different. It's a different facility. And I want to feel comfortable to say, yes, we've done our homework. Understand what needs are going to be for the facility.
Yeah, because that was based on the current, on the old one.
Correct, but it's a different building. And my other question is, and obviously it's not in this report, but you mentioned technology. I think technology from 4 years ago when the study was done has changed and improved substantially, where there's even more efficiencies to gain with new technology. How has that been incorporated into your plan? It's not part of this, obviously, because that was 4 years ago, but I think that needs to be part of that.
Right, well, the new equipment was the one next scrubbers back.
Understood, but I think there's, I would challenge our administration to look at what technology is out there, to ensure that efficiencies are made. From my perspective, just from the industry, standards and understanding, and even talking to other resources, I know from the industry, 18,000 is a very low number of square footage cleaning per custodial person.
No, it is, because they build their things up. Right, so they're doing traffic. They're setting up. So there are other things built into their schedule outside of just.
So that should then be part of that analysis shared with us to say, hey, this is the actual cleaning time, then we're protecting. We're projecting that they're going to be dedicating time to other duties. I look at that in factor as part of the increases. Quick question, back to the maintenance person. What skill set, I guess that question.
No, for our maintenance skill set, it's basically like basic mechanical abilities. If I go to certifications and stuff, then you're gonna have to look. You need to see rates, salary, needs. So we write interview, but that's an issue to them. So just really basic mechanical knowledge, their experience.
Although I'll share this, you sold me on the self-performance.
What?
You sold me on the self-performance when we spoke about this. So I'm not opposed to pay a higher rate, or district paying a higher rate for a skilled position that can self-perform. You pay $40 or $45 for a skilled position versus paying $100 an hour for a service.
Right.
There. Although understanding how much time will that skilled position be invested, right? Worth it, or is it better having a maintenance agreement with service?
Yes. So I think, what we have to have certifications to do certain jobs. So,
Right, understood, but I think that's why I go back to making the case.
Any other questions?
That's
Anything
as
else?
far as questions tonight.
Mr. White, anything else you want to add?
I appreciate you helping us better understand the need.
Thank you. Mr. Sheldon, give you a chance to add anything you thought of to add to the conversation. You would add anything else?
Oh.
Food services? No. All right, good. Is that it? Anything you want to add?
Actually, yes,
Yes, Steve?
I would.
I
I
thought-
would. And Mr. Chavez, thank you very much for the questions, because I think that to get a really clear picture of what I'm requesting and why I'm requesting it, the information that was provided by Dr. Sullivan, of course, does provide a lot of the details. I wondered, as the conversation was happening with Mr. White in exchange with Mr. Chavez, is that there's an understanding by the board that the director of English learners falls under curriculum and instruction, which kind of like to paint a picture of that. What that means is that I am supporting the work in teaching and learning, such as the ARC, anything that has to do with like the English language arts curriculum adoption, any of the professional development that is attached to that. So if I can kind of explain that, when we take a look at English language, the way that we have it set up, the director has the foundation of basically curriculum and instruction, general curriculum and instruction, meaning curriculum, instruction, and assessment for a general population. Layered on top of that is the language acquisition that goes with the curriculum, the language acquisition that goes with the instruction, the language acquisition that goes with the assessment. So that is the learning component of the position that I hold. In addition to that, there is the operations element, which then really hits into, if I can use Mrs. Vince's position, it really hits into like the financials, the budgeting, the grants, the grant writing, the reporting for the grants, the student information system. All of what we do for general education students, the EL department must do for the English language learner. And so when we take a look at that, I think that if I were to say, there is the learning component element, And if we take a look at teaching and learning with Mrs. Zimmerman, that's an element of what I do, a big element. And then on top of that, layer in the language acquisition. Then what Mrs. Vince's department, part of what she does is like the budgeting and all of those components, the financials. Well, the financials is a huge part of my role as well, as it relates to the funding for English language learners. So the English language learning department touches evidence-based funding, touches the federal funding for English language learners. All of that has documentation attached to it. So why the request for the administrative assistant is because there has to be a decision made. Like, are we going to have my position focus on the operations side of it, which really is very heavy clerical, or are we going to have me work on the learning aspect, which is very heavy curriculum instruction and assessment, because I can't be in both. But when we take a look at the efficiency side of things, is do we want to go ahead and have a director doing data entry, a director running reports that they're very time consuming to go ahead and do, but they're very simple to do once the training is provided to the individual that holds the position. So I hope that, and thank you for the opportunity, I hope that this provides a better idea of really what is the role of the director of English language learning.
Thanks for clarification. Thank you.
So quick question, are we going to then vote them down individually, or is it?
So what would happen next is I have a resolution to approve the nutritional services floater position. I have a resolution for the board to consider to approve the PM facility supervisor position because it has to be created. It doesn't exist. And then also a motion to approve the administrative assistant for the director of English learning position because that doesn't exist. Then I have a motion to approve the additional custodial positions, the additional maintenance position.
And none of these positions exist.
We already have custodial, so we're adding, so we don't have to do a resolution for that. And then we already have a maintenance person, so we don't have to do a resolution for that. It's just voting on the position. So if we're ready to continue, or unless we have any other discussion, I can.
So are we going to vote on each individual position?
Yes.
Whether it's resolution or the
Yeah.
decision? Okay, yes. Yeah, I will have some comments, and there is one of those motions that I will want to take from my perspective. So I'll put it up.
Okay. Everybody heard the board from the board, what this college Smith said? You would identify which one you want to take? Right. Are there any other questions before we give it back to the superintendent? You have anything else?
No, sir.
No, that's it.
I'm ready to go here.
For your report.
Okay. All right. So first is I'd like the board to consider a resolution approving the nutritional services district floater position.
The motion, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Davis. Roll call, please.
Hightower,
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We ask the board to adopt a resolution approving the PM facility supervisor position.
You got a motion? Mr. Lee, a question?
No, I motion to approve, but I do have one comment.
Okay, Mr. Chavez, motion. Got a second? Mr. O'Connor. Before the roll call, your comment?
So my comment is, I challenge you to make sure that that person is given the appropriate responsibilities to be successful. I think supervision is very important. And I think we're not overload the person supervisor.
For the record, we let Mr. Chavez make a statement before we go to roll call. Okay. Roll call?
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We ask that the Board of Education approve the resolution approving the administrative assistant for the Director of English Learning position.
The motion, Mr. Chavez, Mr. Jackson, roll call, please.
O'Connell. Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
So now I have a approval for additional custodial positions. This would be a
This is
total
the
of,
motion that I would want for us to table. And I'll explain the reasons why. And I don't know how we need to handle it, legally but my comment is, I want to see more information related to what is going on. Thank you for providing that report. It needs to be,
We want that same report.
yes, I want that looked at as far as the efficiencies.
Can we table it to the next board meeting? Because the need is now, correct?
that one actually, we have a little bit of time because as Mr. Chavez has pointed out, this is really when the new buildings open. So we would like to have this resolved November, December, so they can be trained for Sunnyside MacArthur.
We wanted October so that if they approve it, we can hire in enough time so they can go into the building.
Yeah, you're gonna have to post.
We have to post, we're gonna have to hire.
Well, it is, I guess we have to determine this because we also are looking at Riley Northlake, and that's not open yet either. So, but the sooner the better. But we're looking for one position for Sunnyside, one position for MacArthur. I should say the new, and then one position for the new Riley Northlake.
And I view it as two positions for one building. I realize it's shared space. That's the way
So if we table until the September meeting,
My suggestion to the board is that we table this to the next board meeting. Give the parties the opportunity to get the data we need,
Contact that third party.
and then we will bring it back and vote at the next board. meeting. Put it back on the agenda.
yes, sir.
Okay?
So I make a motion that we table.
Yes.
I make a motion that we table the recommendation for approval of additional custodial positions.
Okay, got a second? The motion on the floor is that we table this, our recommendation to the next board. Get a second? Mr. Jackson, the roll call.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We put that back on the floor.
September 20th. Got it.
Okay? Yeah. Okay with you? Okay. Ms. Travis, you had a concern?
No, just with what was just said too, I wanted to look at and share, and I just said it'll come out when you study it. Keep in mind, Sunnyside, now it's been a little smaller, but it's down to me what you consider half a custodian, because Mr. Morris is a driver and a custodian, so it's always been half. And we do get like communication from the principal where she feels like more needs to be done. So it's all these years have been half where Jefferson and Riley and Whittier, other elementary, has 3 custodians. Sunnyside has always had 2.5 custodians. So I want to just make sure we keep that in mind too. But it'll come out, when they'll update you with the study. But I just wanted to share that out loud that, they've lived with that for a while. And it's like, why was that? But, and as, things has happened and deliveries and different things, she doesn't get as much as everybody else or Sunnyside, so.
So I think I go back to my previous statement earlier, data.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back it up.
So, Mr. White, you have some homework.
I want to understand it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ms. Travis, appreciate that.
So the next is, we asked that the board approve the additional maintenance person as presented.
Get a motion, Ms. O'Connell, second. Mrs. Shabazz. Roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And then this one here, I will then challenge you to review the SIS. I think that's, I totally agree. Yeah, the documentation.
More homework community, Ms. Spence. You got homework as well, cost.
I understand that the information is on those sheets, so I'll put something in now that the board's approved these positions.
But my understanding is some of them gonna be through grants and some gonna be board administration costs, correct?
Correct, but either way, they'll be accounted for in the budget.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The next is I'm going to table this as well. It's on the agenda. I had the approval of 2 additional district substitute positions. I wanted to mention to the board that in order to start school, and I have more about this in my oral report, but we had to assign 2 district substitutes, 2 positions at MacArthur Middle School. And if we cannot find someone in the next month, I think I'd like to come back in September and ask the board to approve 2 additional substitutes, so we will have those substitutes available. But right now, when I talk to the principal, he does have some candidates that we are still interviewing, because we would like to have certified teachers teaching that position, not substitutes, but we had to do that in order to get school.
So we will not do any substitute hiring.
I'm not going to add, we were going to ask for 2 additional district subs, but we're going to wait until September 26th.
Would that create any kind of disadvantage for educating our students by not having those substitutes in place?
Well, I don't know if it's a disadvantage right now. We have our day-to-day substitutes that we have. We do not want to keep our district substitutes covering positions, but we literally have used every avenue we can think of. Remember, we talked about the bonus?
Yeah.
We weren't able to award the bonus to anyone. Nobody got the bonus yet. Still out there if anybody's watching, our bonus. We had the signs up, as you know, those big banners throughout the district. We put flyers up throughout the community. We are also using the services of placement agencies, which I have that's coming up. We have a service agreement to approve for that. We're doing everything that we can think of to have highly qualified people in front of our children. But I do not have right now the financial impact those 2 positions would be. I didn't put them on that sheet. And so since I'm not on that sheet, I don't think it's fair to ask the board to vote on them. And when I did talk to the principal today, he did say he has some interviews coming up. And that is our plan to hire if we can.
It's fair.
So
Appreciate
that's where we're at. We then had, we asked that the board approve the change of hours for the 2 MacArthur assistant cooks as presented.
Motion. Ms. O'Connell, Mr. Jackson, roll call please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson. O'Connell. Aye. Motion carried.
We asked that the board approve the ProCare therapy staffing agreement. We're just talking about that. We've used ProCare to help us with hard to find positions such as special education and social work.
Motion. Mr. Jackson, Mr. Chavez, roll call please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Almost finished. We asked that the board approve the Catalyst for Educational Change proposal as presented for the 2022-2023 school year. This is providing leadership coaching for all of our administrators as we have our full return to in-person learning. And as Ms. Valdez was discussing, we're implementing our American Reading Corporation ARC program and our Ready Math. And as Mr. Hightower would say, hit the ground running with our student learning.
Ms. O'Connell and Mr. Chavez, roll call please.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell. Aye. Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And we ask that the Board of Education approve the Maxim staffing agreement as presented. Maxim has been helping us with nurses for our schools.
Motion. Ms. O'Connell? And Mr. Jackson. Roll call, please.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And then finally, for voting, that we ask that the board approve the 5-year strategic plan as presented as discussed in previous meetings.
Motion. Mr. Jackson, Ms. O'Connell, roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And I'll be real brief with my oral report. Thank you, first of all, to the board for all of your time with what we just went through. We won't let you down. We appreciate your support. I want to thank Mr. Hightower for coming to our Institute Day and giving your inspirational remarks. Thank you. And Mrs. Hightower attended as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you, guys. The administration did a great job, and I was just honored to be here. See all the smiling face.
And we pulled it off at Jefferson. We had the entire district staff at Jefferson, and it worked. And I'd like to thank St. Thomas Malabar, the cathedral. They opened up their parking lot to us, which was very kind of them to do that. It's nice to have such community partners. They didn't ask for money. They didn't ask for anything. They were glad to do it. So we're very pleased.
To the board, I got one thing clear. That gym that they were all the administrators and teachers in, you could just feel the excitement. You really could. Everyone's excited to be back in school. So I take my hat out. Have a great year. Have a fantastic year. So thank you.
So if you notice in front of you, you have a little swag. This says living. You have one on your hand there, Mr. Hightower. Live your why. That's our theme for this year. Living your why in your role. And you might also notice that you have a little notebook.
Yep.
Right there. And then you also may notice you have your purple District 87 shirt. You have your purple District 87 magnet. And I like to point out that I folded each of those shirts using my Navy skills, which they taught us way back in boot camp how to fold. And I excel at folding all these years later. So I just wanted to point that out. I folded that.
All right.
Those are hand folded. If the size isn't right, please let Diana or I know, and we'll make sure that you have the appropriate one. You're welcome. We are building the pipeline with our minority and local education organizations to continue to find teacher candidates. That's something we are determined and we are committed to. I've already mentioned that we have district substitutes covering a class. I did want to mention too, this is one of the costs that I'm really trying to work on. Our beginning band director is right now covering music at MacArthur because the person who taught music resigned a week before school started. And so this is the kind of thing we're dealing with as an administrative team. So I appreciate your support to help us. We also are working on our staff retention and during teacher shortage. One of the factors for that is the salary, our salary compared to other districts. And I feel one of the things that amplified that this year is we are going through negotiations this year, but some of our neighboring districts went through it last year. So their salary schedule looked much higher compared to ours. And as you know, we've talked about it as a board. We don't want people leaving for that reason. But as I reflected on the data, as Mr. Chavez was talking about, that was something that came to mind. So I wanted to mention that. We are looking at our shield testing program. And what that refers to is, you may recall last year during COVID, we had kids putting saliva in a test tube as part of what was required for the Test to Stay program. We are no longer required to do that. So what we can do is transition to our rapid antigen test, which we also have, which is an immediate test. Our nurses have it. We also have kits that can go home for parents. So we can still fulfill the Test to Stay requirement without having to organize it once a week at each school to have the kids leave their classroom and go to one designated place and get saliva in a test tube and have that sent away. What we can do, and I'm just going to confirm this with the principals, and then we'll communicate to our parents, we should be able to do the same thing using our rapid tests that we have, which would give immediate feedback to our nurse team or to the parents if the child is positive. And rather than waiting 2 or 3 days to get a result back, we can do it immediately. So we could always pivot back to the Shield, Illinois, but we also could find a way right now to get back to more normality with school. And if children have symptoms, we have a way to determine right away, instantly, if they are positive. So that's a direction I'm going to be clarifying with the principals, but that would be my recommendation, that we transition to the rapid test with the option of pivoting back to Shield, Illinois, if we need to do that. I just want to mention it to the board, in case there are any questions on that. That's all I have.
Good report, good information, good updates. Yeah, thank you. Ms. Zimmer, welcome.
Hello. Welcome to everybody. The first thing I wanted to start up, we had a great new teacher orientation. We have a dynamic, enthusiastic, and energetic new staff that have joined us. So first of all, I want to thank our principals, our assistant principals, and especially Mrs. Travis and her team, making sure that they were hired and got to us. Even I was getting information from Betsy even the night of the next day, or there are going to be some staff joining me for new teacher orientation. They hustled and got everybody to us so that they could join us as soon as people were hired. So I really appreciated the help so that our staff could get that foundation and start to acclimate and join our Berkeley 87 family. I also wanted to thank our veteran staff for mentoring, stepping up and mentoring our wonderful additions to our Berkeley 87 family. And we also, our custodial staff and food service staff, Marcus and Dale's team did an amazing job helping with our orientation, making sure we had everything that we needed the day for that entire week. I think this year we did a great job at really focusing on the instructional components and how to be successful in your first beginning at Berkeley. And then we reserved some time to meet with them ongoing this year so that we could provide just-in-time support for all of our new teachers, which is something different from the previous years for the last couple of years since I've been here. So we'll have meetings through the course of the school year with us after school to provide just ongoing support when they need for evaluations, like I have an upcoming evaluation, what do I need to do, or parent-teacher conferences, or just different experiences to keep that onboarding and that mentoring and support going for our new teachers. I also wanted to just kind of give an update. We are in full swing with our American Reading Company, our new adoption for ELA. I was very pleased this summer. We offered 2 opportunities for our staff to come in over their summer break to have 2 days, each opportunity, 2 days of training. So we had 122 staff members who took advantage of that over the course of the summer to come in at 2 different opportunities. So I was really pleased for that. That's almost 90%, little less than 90% of our staff that teach ELA joined us for that. We have an additional 7 staff coming tomorrow and Wednesday for a much brief orientation, but we should have everybody trained and ready to go. And we have embedded professional coaching from our ARC coaches. They'll be in the district about every 2 weeks in our classrooms, modeling for teachers, providing ongoing support for both not only our teachers, but also our principals, assistant principals, and our instructional coaches, so that we can apprentice them to then lead that work after this year. So they'll provide that support ongoing this year in our first year of implementation. And then the goal is that they will be able to apprentice that and lead that work in their buildings after this year. And then we are also continuing to, we'll need to apply for our e-learning plan. So our curriculum team has been working on that, updating our e-learning plan, and we'll be bringing that forward to you in September. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Vince, you're up.
Yes, I have a much smaller agenda this month than
Really?
last month. For the summary of budget, the statement of position, and the student activity reports for the period ending July 31, 2022 are provided for your review. The next two items are the change orders that were reviewed during the facilities committee meeting. So the first action item is the construction change orders that were reviewed. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve change order number 84 through 89 as presented.
Motion, Ms. Chavez and Mr. Jackson. Roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And they approved the change orders, change order number 1 for the AV project. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve AV project change order 1 as presented.
Motion. Mrs. Chavez and Ms. O'Connor. Roll call, please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell. Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And a quick update in my whole report. The Baker Tilly, the district audit that we use Baker Tilly firm for, they were on site last week and they are continuing the audit this week. It's progressing on track, and then we'll have a few days in October that they will come back and do a follow-up for any of the single audit items. So that is on track. Wanted to give a quick update on the North Lake property. So we had the closing last Monday. Everything went smoothly, and then we worked with Wold to prepare big documents for the demolition of the property and any asbestos abatement. So Mr. White is coordinating a walkthrough with the environmental consultant as well as with the architects.
And the demolition will start when?
We would have to bid it. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
That's okay.
So, and then just another update. Last month I shared that the county had a bridge program for the delayed property taxes. And after investigation, we would not qualify for it because it's for a district that has a lower fund balances. And I did meet with PMA to make sure that it looked like our fund balance would carry us through, and we had a plan to address the bond payments that are due December 1st in case the property bills don't go out till December 1st. So we have a plan for that, and then I did also work with the township treasurer. He did a cash projection, and we have the ability to cover our expenditures until those taxes come in. So if that is a December 1, I'm still going to hold out hope that they will pull it together sooner. They've done that in the past, but in case it is December 1st that the tax bills go out, we're still prepared for that.
We, in regards to our construction, bonds, everything. We didn't get, did we have any other pending or?
On the construction bonds, so we have sold the 3 issues for the construction bonds. Then in March, we did the forwarding sale for the refunding of the 2014 bond issue. That is scheduled to close next week. So there were documents that Mr. Hightower and Ms. Mason already have signed. They've been submitted to Chapman and Cutler. And right now we're still on track to close on that refunding, which is like refinancing the mortgage. So that is all on track to close next month.
So as it relates to rates, we basically made the right decision.
We made the board made the right decision to sell the largest portion in that second issue, the 2021 issue. They were all supposed to was 26 and then kind of split the other 2 up evenly, but by going with, I think it was 76 was the
second issue, we capitalized on the lower rates. So the rates were still a little bit higher on the 2022A for the third final issue of the bonds for the construction. But overall, we are still better than we anticipated when the GMA first presented everything. So great job, board. You made a great decision on that.
I think it was a joint effort, all of us.
Yeah.
Thank
It was
you.
great data. Together, data.
Perfect.
Yes. So that is the end of my report unless there are any other questions.
No way. Get more than that.
I know. I can't wait till next month.
We go
Well,
later.
thank you. Still a good report.
We go later.
Thank you. Ms. Travis.
Our report is quick as well. Vacancies for certified staff, we have 15 vacancies. And for support staff, we have 21 vacancies.
What's our total employee count?
Our total employee count, I have to get you updated, but it's like, no, it's three, between like,
plus.
like yeah, 350 and 380. I can get you an
About
update.
10% vacancy.
Mhm. Absolutely,
Plus the ones we had tonight.
yes. Yes, absolutely. And so, of course, we're working on those. As Dr. Sullivan said, we're trying to improve our, recruitment efforts. I will say Dr. Sullivan shared how we put up signs at the schools. And when we did that, I did receive calls regarding lunchroom supervisors, substitutes. So people are reading them, and teacher assistants. So people are reading them. So it has helped. Today I was talking to the administrative assistant of our HR department, and I told her it's time for us to start looking at fall recruitment fairs. And I have a few principals in mind that I will ask to go out, those with vacancies still with me, to those recruitment fairs. Usually I don't have to go to too many, but I know of, I think Illinois State and a few universities south that host them that my colleagues have shared in the past. They've gotten a few candidates. So this year I'm looking to attend.
So if I have a request,
Mhm.
can you share with us at the next board meeting the vacancy rates for certified staff and support staff from sister districts, especially districts that have not negotiated yet, and districts that have now negotiated, that entered their first year. Very interested to see what that statistic is.
Okay.
That data.
Absolutely. And then last but not least, I wanted to share with you that, and this is new, I currently serve as a member of large executive board on the Illinois Association of School Personnel Administrators. And they are partnering with the Illinois Education Workforce Research Group. So every year that group works with the Illinois superintendent and regional superintendents, and they collect a survey regarding our vacancies, how many unfilled positions that we have. And so I'm going to be representing IASPA on that committee. So I'll be working with the research group. Last week was my first meeting, so we will meet every other Friday. And this year we've just taken a look at the survey that we'll be submitting to the superintendents. I actually work with the superintendent. I work with Dr. Bresnahan, I work with Dr. Sullivan. So I actually am the person that actually fills out the survey in regards to our vacancies. And I was sharing with them that we did a mock of it just to see. It is, improving. It used to be very long, but it has improved, and the questions, you can answer really well. So they have a lot of work. They're going to be doing teacher salary studies in the state. And, we just talked about the things that's impacting us and the factors of the teacher shortage and how everyone is being impacted. And it was a lot of regional superintendents, not a lot, but regional superintendents across the state. Dr. Kleisner from West 40 serves on this in this research group. And I just want to let you know, we're in the same boat. Some ideas that Dr. Sullivan have shared, like for example, instructional coaches or people like that, they've had to go in the classroom and switch this year to teach, in other districts. So we are in the same boat and it's impacting us all. So we're trying to look at research and, look at different districts and come up ways that how we can make things better. So I'm very excited to be on the team so that we can share and get ideas about teacher retention and this shortage. And the team reached out to IASCA because they said they were missing the HR, a school HR lens into, the feedback and discussion. So very happy to be a part of it and be happy to share like our findings with you all as we research and, explore what's really going on and how we can help. So that's the end of my report. I just wanted to share that with you.
Good report, doing a good job, so thank you. I know it's a struggle out there, but let's keep going. All right. Thank you.
Question, what, in terms of our facilities, for gym equipment? Weights, or basically all.
It's actually something that I'm working on right now for the fitness areas. Been working with the PE teachers. I met with them several times this summer, and we crafted a list of materials to get us started. So like the TRX bands, free weights, and they wanted to have yoga mats and then like the steps so that they could do some Zumba classes and yoga classes and things like that to integrate that into their health portion of their curriculum. And then we have a much larger vision that's more long-term, a goal of having a fully functioning fitness room with, treadmills and bikes and things like that. So we went and visited actually in Villa Park, their 2 middle schools and their fitness rooms about 3 weeks ago and looked at their setup. And then we have scouted 2 or 3 different companies that will come in once our facilities are ready to look at the space and how to set those up and what the cost of that would be. And then we can look at our long-term budgeting and plans and project that out. Eventually what that would look like to have a fully functioning fitness space.
For our students, right?
For our students, yes. And would
As
be
a perk.
as part,
As a perk.
no, as part of their PE curriculum.
Right, I'm saying as a perk.
After school and before school.
To our employees.
It's a perk to our employees, you bet.
That would be something to consider,
Yes.
to be incorporated in it. So we're talking about staff retention.
Mhm.
A lot of companies do activities or other things to, attract those employees.
Yeah, that's a great
There's
point.
benefits to being part of it.
Definitely. And one of the things that our PE team would really like to see is have the fitness room be student run and that they would offer classes before school and after school to our fellow students. And that they could run those before school and after school as part of a after school programming or club in addition. So we have a menu of classes like a gym that we could offer as well. So it's our long-term vision.
Thank you.
Mr. Chavez.
At PMSA, they have like heart monitors connected to like TVs on the screen.
Yep.
I kind of like that because
Like Orange Theory kind of.
yeah, because then a kid can individually be working on their own thing. I'm not going as fast as him, but man, I still got my heart rate up and I'm still working in my zone.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
We saw that at Villa Park at the middle schools too, and their principals, both their principals really talked about the level of engagement that it increased in both their PE. And one of the things that they did is that they created choice in that they had fitness goals for all of the students and they had to meet those first before they could get into their choice activities. And boy, everyone's dressed and ready and on those machines and ready to roll because they want to get to those choice games. Pick up basketball and the volleyball, and the other pieces and parts of the gym. And they said that they no longer have anybody that's dawdling off to gym, trying to slack and get in the locker rooms and not put on their uniforms or any of that. They completely changed the dynamic of their PE classrooms with the fitness component. So it's interesting discussion.
Mr. Chavez, you probably remember that when we first switched to having the fitness room at MacArthur and North Lake, when we first converted like the old theater and things, that we did open that up to staff before and after school. And then Mr. Jackson, on the heart monitors, we did have a PE teacher wrote a grant a year, 2 years ago that they were awarded that from IFER. And so we do have, and I think we bought them for the other schools. So we do have heart monitors, and then they, I think the PE teacher has an iPad that they are connected to. So they get some of that feedback already, but to have it displayed, yeah, that takes it to another level. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Travis, anything else?
No, that's it.
Mr. Barnes? You up?
Hello there.
Hello.
Quick updates, Riley and North Lake, a lot of attention in those two schools, construction and the interior work was the priorities for the last week or two is when myself, and some other teams get in there to do some other tasks to get the school year ready. So network, cabling, switches, access point, power in the data room, that has been a big focus, and we were able to get working networks before teachers arrived because kind of not those. So we want to make sure the teachers and staff enter the building, they have a working network to use their device and internet. Classroom technology, it was delays in delivery were a big headache, but as of this past Saturday, all classrooms have their displays, and speakers that were designed to have that, maybe with the exception of one or two not being exactly where we wanted, but not exactly the timeline we wanted, but a lot of work was done by a lot of people to put us in a pretty good position there. The next phase is then training. We've got the class technology in the classroom, now we got to work with teachers to make sure they can effectively use it to help educate their students. Phones, copiers, security cameras, some ongoing things just to make sure all the systems are operational and where we want them to be, but specifically Riley and North Lake, since the phase project, we've not really this phase of the project, but it won't be until this time next year where we have the full implementation. So I'll call it quits there unless there are questions.
Good. Got everything you need, right? We've been running. Ready to go.
Ready to go.
All right. Mr. White?
We got busted up and running. We got about 35 routes, about short, so we're still waiting for things to settle down from all the changes and to reevaluate that. They're still working on getting additional numbers. But we're in a good place. Much less problems than I had thought.
With the payment going out front here, what kind of issues are we having with the parents getting in to pick the kids up at the construction?
I haven't heard of any issues. So I think it's
No, not here. We're working on refining our drop-off pickup over at Riley. So we have a couple of changes coming up. We've had parents getting out of the cars, parking and getting out of the cars. So we're working to help parents realize the importance of just dropping off curbside, but staying in the car and letting the teachers help get the children safely into school. So the principal and assistant principal have been working with Mr. White and also Chief Barris of the North Lake Police to make sure that we do that safely. And then the other buildings are doing really well too with the drop-off pickup.
We meet with, North Lake Police Department tomorrow, talk about lockdown procedures. I think, there's HVAC stuff, I've had a valve issue on, we're working on.
Good. Good leadership, thank you. Is that it? You are. What's going to tell us? Anything good?
Yes, yes. So, working on supporting the art rollout, as it relates to just the general rollout as well as professional development for how our English learners will be utilizing the materials both in Spanish and to teach English as a second language. Working on the identification of students and placements. We met with the Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee and we had our first session for the school year that the parents selected bullying as the topic that we're going to be working with Dr. Fidney Ramirez for this school year. So I will be sending information on what the dates are. I mean, so if you're able to join us, please do. We can have interpretation in English available for you. The sessions are currently in Spanish.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Sheldon, welcome to our board meeting. My understanding is you got good meals, so we may come have lunch with you one day.
Of course.
Anything you want to add to conversation?
So right now, we're focused on logistics, because now students have, this is the first time students have actually seen the garden. We got some salad bar.
Yeah.
8th graders saw part of it until February. 6th graders, everybody else has. So they're so excited, new, they're like picking strawberries. They don't have to process that. And with 160 kids come down the garden, you know, the line is longer and longer. So our goal right now is to focus on getting students to the line as fast as possible, getting used to it, just getting them like a routine. We also have these pen pads where they put their ID. So they also have to learn that last weekend. So I think I should follow the card today. And we're gonna try to just get the ball rolling. That's our focus.
We appreciate everything everybody's doing, so we're up to a good year, so. Everybody's smiling. It's not late. How was you ready to go?
Ready to go grab some. Ready to go grab some.
No other new business? Okay.
That's what I'm ready to do.
Okay, next board meeting will be September 26th, 7 p.m. Going back to 7 p.m.
What?
September 26th,
Okay.
7 p.m. Write it down for us. All right. Anything else before we join? Get a motion? Mr. O'Connell, Mr. Jackson, second. Roll call, please.
Chavez.
Aye.
Hightower,
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
O'Connell. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate you.